So I will let the wonderful panelists introduce themselves in a second. I am Aaron. As Dan said, I am also at Parity Technologies. I am also one of the alumni he was alluding to in the previous panel there from the Academy. So if folks want to know more about that, happy to talk to them about it afterwards. I'm really excited for this panel because I think we've got such a great mixture of different projects and project types here that are all built an ecosystem. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to see why these folks decided to build in Polkadot. We've heard a lot about Polkadot. We've heard a lot about what can be done with it, what we hope people are going to do with it in the future. Nice opportunity to hear from people who are building on it today. So with that, let's start our introductions. Tell us who you are and what your project is.
I'm Patrick Irwin, or Bob. I'm the head of community development and growth at Zeitgeist, and we are a decentralized protocol for prediction markets.
My name is Nino. I'm a CPO at Apillon, and we are a Web3 development platform. We are basically utilizing all the parachains to make easier development or closer development to Web2.
Hey everyone, my name's David. I recently rebranded myself to Chief Vibe Architect at Oak Network. So basically what we do is we are an automation blockchain, and we provide that infrastructure to other parachain projects, dApps, and the ecosystem who need automation services trustlessly.
Awesome. So you guys said very, very different projects all built in Polkadot. Did you say you rebranded yourself to Chief Vibe Officer?
Chief Vibe Architect, yeah.
Oh, Vibe Architect. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a new title. It's people are getting used to it still, but
We'll get the slide updated later. Don't worry.
yeah, no, I saw it and I was like, I really forgot to change that to him, but it's okay. We'll, it's a fun place.
So while we have you kind of on the mic, then why did Oak choose to build on Polkadot in the first place?
Yeah, there's a number of different reasons. I think we probably weren't the first project to kind of start with the tech and see where this is possible. I usually reference Vitalik's paper on the alarm clock opcode for anyone who's read that, where he kind of goes into deep technical and economic and game theory reasons about why scheduling transactions in the future on a blockchain is difficult, maybe near impossible, just didn't want to be done, and they left that out of Ethereum on purpose. But Gavin didn't. He's making probably what I think most of us here would agree, at least up on the panel here, is a slightly better version of the tech. So our founder, Chris, who's in the audience, went and did some research about 9 months with a bunch of academics to make sure this is actually possible. Once we learned it was possible, we thought it was necessary because it's just one of those things that you don't think about on a day-to-day basis, doing something in the future. But it is absolutely one way to drive adoption and really bring that kind of the good things about Web 2 to Web 3, the things that we're used to that are really helpful and fun to work with. The other big reason is really the interoperability because we talk a lot about block-based demand and efficiency of that use space, but it's no fun having automation sitting there by itself with nothing else on it, right? Like unless you can automate your DeFi trading on a dApp, or if you want to automate some sort of I've been thinking about limit orders on Zeitgeist recently, personally. It's more fun when you can kind of go cross-chain and use the infrastructure elsewhere. So those are probably two of the main reasons that we're here right now.
Really interesting. Thank you. Yours is a bit of a different case, and you said you were across all parachains. Is that what you described it as?
No, actually, we are utilizing parachains. So, when we were choosing where to build it was. So if we are starting to build a Web3 development platform, we're obviously choosing a blockchain which is very Web3 focused and has a governance which ensures us that there's a longevity in the Web3 decisions that are going to have to be made. And of course, if you look at the parachains which are working on protocol level, they are very focused on that, and they're already providing services that work. So now what we do is we take different parachains, either for storage or identity. We connect them to an abstraction platform, which is Apillon, and you can basically come and start building on those parachains as you would in Web 2.
And you said there, so you're not a parachain yourself, but you're within the Polkadot ecosystem. Like, how does that?
We are not a parachain. We basically connect all the parachains that a typical developer would need to build a Web3 product or app or even mobile app. and we abstract them into an API, and you can just build like you would in Web 2.
Fantastic. Because we've heard a lot today kind of from Ben and other people about different ways in which you can build upon the platform, from like ink smart contracts to power of threads to parachains, and like this looks like it's another opportunity as well.
Yes, I think Kenny from Manta is very aligned with what we're doing. It's parachain, it focuses really on the protocol level and provides a service. And now we understand that service, we know how it works, and we just, implement it into our platform.
Great. Patrick, why did Zeitgeist choose Polkadot?
Yeah, so the biggest goal for us right from the get-go was to create, from the protocol level, the primitives and the ability for people to really kind of leverage prediction markets in the way that they would want to. So when you think about it that way, you want to build from the protocol level, well, there's just no better place to do it, right? And then, not to mention our founders are like, massive dots on the bulls, right?
You're going to make us blush here. No better place to do it, eh? Okay, I'm sure it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though. What was your experience like building out on Polkadot?
Honestly, it's been quite well. Our team is like very familiar with the infrastructure, and we've been able to work towards it. I would say like really the best part that comes out of it is just sort of the harmony that is like created through the structure of what the Polkadot ecosystem is, right? And so, what was it? Was it all rainbows and unicorns? No, there's plenty of problems. But again, like I wouldn't pick anywhere else to do it at all.
And what about you, David? How was your experience, or your company's experience building on top of Polkadot?
Yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, it's been good. Obviously, we haven't left. We're enjoying it, definitely, and we've made a ton of progress. But I think, the hiccups really come when you get to that bleeding edge of like what's possible, right? And already we're working with automation infrastructure, which literally can't exist anywhere else outside of the substrate framework without bots or other trusted solutions that we think have a lot of security risks or are expensive or some combination of the two. So then when we take that to a team like Moonbeam or A-Star or Invarge or whoever we happen to be working with at the time, it's like, all right, it doesn't matter how smart you are, you've never seen this before, unless you've been following our documentation, which we try to keep up to speed. But those things are just difficult, right? There's a lot of training and there's a lot of knowledge sharing that has to go back and forth between really incredible teams, and everyone's kind of always fighting for attention, right? Like even within my own team, I'm getting pulled in a million different directions at once. So it's a good problem to have. It's one that I don't think is avoidable by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're the type of person who kind of shies away from those things, Polkadot might seem difficult. If you love challenges that have never been tackled before, to create stuff that's just like empirically better than the existing solutions, it's a great place to do that.
So you used an interesting word there, unavoidable. Do you think it's unavoidable, Nino?
I wouldn't say it's unavoidable, but it's debatable.
Was that so with Apillon? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Apillon, sorry.
Yeah.
With Apillon, would that be helping developers avoid some of the pain points of having to like deploy on Polkadot? You're abstracting some of that away, or?
Yeah, we're abstracting quite a lot, but for us, the main pain point was, how to deliver this really quickly, and what is the sweet spot of compromise between decentralization, unstoppability, and whether this is a Web 2, Web 3 hybrid, and stuff like that. So this is the constant back and forth. Like we listened to a great presentation at the beginning, like type 1, type 2 decisions, and how do we start this project not to go too deep into Web 2 and then, still leave some space of maneuverability to be able to become fully Web 3 or fully decentralized with time.
Because that must be difficult to keep up with the different parachains then and the different kind of functionalities that they're exposing.
Yes, it's also like, for example, if we take Kilt and DIDs from W3C, this is innovation, right? So if you would like to onboard your users with a typical, email password kind of way, again, we're going back to Kenny, we're trying to avoid the mnemonics and just an additional wallet in your collection. You need to abstract this. And the moment you abstract an innovation, a completely new flow, it's kind of tricky. You need to figure it out, how to really provide the whole spectrum of the IDs, but still not compromise on the functionality, security, and everything that comes with it.
So you mentioned Kilt there as one of the app chains. Patrick, is there any other app chains that are currently in the ecosystem that you're really excited by, or you're really impressed by what they're putting out, or?
You mean like in the relation to integrations, or just?
No, just in general, just other things that are being built within the ecosystem that are really kind of exciting at the moment about the potential.
Okay, so I will do a quick shout out. A-Star, however you say it, they have really been pushing it like pretty hard. And, so right now, a lot of focus on that. But, this extends to, it's hard to think of a parachain team that I'm not, proud of, right? So, Basilisk, Oak, Gonna Make It, it's just, et cetera, I could go on forever, so.
And then, David, Oak, is there any ones that you've seen? We've mentioned quite a lot of different parachains today, and I know there's maybe 80 odd. Oh, somebody's going to correct me in that number. But what ones are you most excited about, or which ones do you really see the potential in?
We're working closely with a number of them, and we're excited about all of them as well. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention that we launched the first ever remote execution use case just last week. So we're hoping to demo that at the ETHDenver booth. We'll be up there Friday for anyone who wants to come by. And this is the true power of XCM, right? And we did that with Mangata. We kind of start simple with very complicated technology. It's just going to be auto compounding for your liquidity pool positions, but. Again, this is one of those things that I get really excited about because we've been working with them for a long time, working on things like gas fees and who, which call goes where, which extrinsics are we building, how do you do an automatic swap out of the rewards to make sure that you can actually get all this stuff done. And it's extremely complex, but it's really exciting because now it just looks like a switch that you flip, right? You just go into your pool, you go auto compound, and then you set it, forget it. And this is really, I think, the power of what XCM can do with chains like Mangata, and then we're going to try to take that elsewhere. So we're working with the Invarch guys, with the OSIF staking, really excited about their DAO tooling so that not only people who are staking to contribute to the DAOs, but the DAOs themselves can then auto-compound, making these governance structures easier, as easy as they can be, so people can participate where it's important and not just constantly, feeling like they're pulled in a direction where it feels like a job, and it's not an enjoyable experience anymore. I think those are probably two of the ones that I'm really excited about.
And you must have your ear to the ground on this with doing the integration. So is there any that you'd like to highlight?
First of all, I would like to point out that we're probably the product in Polkadot that has really good oversight of all the parachains, right? Because this is our pool where we take from. And not only that, we also have to go really deep technically. And, in our scope, currently we have Kilt, we have Crust already implemented in our closed beta. We have Phyla. We are starting with Moonbeam this week. We have A-Star. And we have to go deep into their SDKs, figure out how they work, figure out how to abstract them, and how to pack them up into a neat little API and documentation for any developer who would like to come and work on a single endpoint and still have the guarantee that all those things are serving to full Web3 product.
So with your exposure into so many of the different kind of app chains and obviously their SDKs and things, what can those chains do to make your job easier?
Definitely, I would say it's the way we are able to connect one-on-one. So basically, all the parachains that we work with, we met them, we know them, we are in the same groups. We have massive support from them. And I would say this is huge. I mean, there would be no way for us to build this way. For example, with those who are really close to be integrated with our platform, we got a lot of one-on-one help and some special adjustments or whatever, and even help. And we hope to grow on this, that more parachains will approach us, and we'll just open the gate. Maybe the parachains will also be able to integrate themselves into our platform, etc. So yeah.
That'd be awesome, like kind of a self-serve model from the BUID in. That'd be so incredible. So, Patrick, then we've talked a lot about kind of things that already exist and people have built on Polkadot. For some people in the audience now, would be going, they've seen what's possible. They're excited about Polkadot. Where do you think there's currently gaps in app chains? Like what opportunities are there for people to go out and to build?
So it's a really good question. And, where is the gap? What is going to be the next thing? I think really the biggest thing that's stopping not just Polkadot, but the ecosystem in general is going to be the, onboarding to Web3 for somebody who's not from there, right? There's a few solutions out there in the ecosystem, but there's nothing really that I can just send somebody to. Here, man, go here, sign up for this, get this ready, and now you're able to interact with the entire ecosystem, right? So I think that if I wanted to see a project kind of come out of the weeds and really send it, I would really be looking for something like that, A lot of the ones that are doing it are moving pretty slow. Gonna find you, though, yeah.
And that seems to be something we're hearing a lot on these different panels and things today, is just around this user experience for developers and how we can, not just for developers actually as well, as we heard in the privacy panel, even for regular consumers too, and make things kind of a lot easier for them to use. We want to see any kind of major traction. But David, what gaps do you currently see within kind of app chains that people could be building out today?
I mean, they're everywhere. There's so many, it's impossible to count. And I think that's maybe the one more interesting things about Polkadot is, I have a couple of ideas. I'll show my oak ideas in case anyone's out there wants to build them or watching online. I want subscription services, right? It's ridiculous. I want to be able to take my Substack subscription and take that and make that entirely crypto. There's no reason why that shouldn't be an integrated thing. OnlyFans is taking 40%, ridiculous, right? There's so many things that people can do, but the infrastructure needs to be there, and I think that to Kenny's point, we're working on right now. But we are working with ASTAR. I'm excited about Gira and Vara, these tools that make it easy to deploy and go to people where they are, as opposed to expecting people to dive into Ink because it's the only thing available. And I'm not saying Ink's great from everything. I'm not a developer. Everyone that uses it says they love it. But I think it's important to meet people where they are, and then you bring people into the universe, expose them gradually, as opposed to putting up high barriers to entry. So those two teams, I'm really excited about opening the doors for the availability. Hoon in particular made this cool little XVM thing that I don't understand, but it lets you deploy Solidity contracting, then get Oak automation. I'm like, hell yeah, now I'll have a whole new room of people to go pitch automation to, and I don't have to tell them that they have to learn an entirely new language to come work with me.
So, before I put the question, I'm going to flip it a little bit. We heard in the last panel about system chain, or common good parachain, as it's been referred to before. Is there opportunities you see there, that things that could be deployed on the system chain that could aid the ecosystem as a whole?
Probably. I mean, if this would exist, it would probably have to solve at least 3 things. So personally, I think, when you're touching several parachains, you're always working with different accounts, maybe different wallets, so this is friction number 1. Friction number 2, and this one is huge. All the services for parachains are paid with their tokens, which are volatile. So how is one supposed to scale a product where a price is unknown? This one is very, very tricky. And then going into, we like to talk about how we will be the next cloud compared to AWS or Google Cloud. We have no infrastructure for SLAs, so going into pricing models, trying to scale to a few million users, you have no calculation how much the infrastructure will actually cost. And then you have no real guarantees on the other side, which a company which relies on this would probably expect. So if we are able to solve this as a common good parachain, I think someone should definitely tackle it.
That's just a great idea, actually. Don't point at me.
Thank you.
We're trying to move as much stuff away from Parity, developing itself and onto the system chains and things. So yeah, definitely something we can put to the community though. But so we talked as well. we talked a lot about kind of things that can be built, and the fact you all have already kind of building things in the ecosystem. But a lot of what again, it's you're building really out services. So what kind of use cases are you seeing, or are your customers kind of using you for at the moment? Anybody want to take it?
Well, from our perspective, we're still very early. So first code we wrote in September, and we just released, like I said, the storage and hosting, which is based off Crust and IPFS. But definitely we're looking into build an Instagram clone on Apillon. Basically, users will log in using killed DIDs. Whatever users will post will get stored to Crust. And then, the logic from this continues. We just add additional parachains, and you just keep building. So,
awesome.
This is the theoretical part, but we still have to gather.
And David, you looked like you had an answer for that as well. Do you want to jump in on it too?
I mean, I think it's probably a lot of what I've already said, but I think maybe something that I didn't touch on as much was kind of what it means for each parachain that we're working with, right? So for Mangat, it's quite simple. It's a DEX, but when you can offer a better feature set that literally is unavailable anywhere else in the entire Web3 world, like you have a defining feature, right? You're no longer just competing with Uniswap. You've created something better, and I think that's special. And then for A-Star, it's like, okay, for web developers, and they say, I'll have this EVM smart contract. Why should I deploy on you? And I want them to say, well, we've got automation services that don't require bots, and that's something you can't get anywhere else, right? So I think it's easy to get caught up in the tech, and I'm very proud of the tech that the team has put together. But when everyone's having these conversations about where to build, what's important, how do we do things in the future, that emotional connection of what it really means to someone is I think, important to bring up as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it, that the connection you need there as well. The one thing you mentioned is kind of the wider Web3 ecosystem. Like at Polkadot, we don't want to be chain maximalist, but we can't. So Patrick, how can Polkadot aid the wider Web3 ecosystem beyond Polkadot itself, beyond the parachains?
How do I what? Sorry. How do I see Polkadot beyond just the Polkadot ecosystem?
Yeah, how do we aid just Web3 in itself? Like we want to create these unstoppable applications. We have this vision for what the web can be. We're not chain maximalists. What impact can we have beyond just Polkadot?
I think the impact it will have, it will just be excuse me, a continual growth in just people coming over to Polkadot and actually building it, and not in a maximalist kind of way, but it's just we're offering solutions that nobody else has, right? Nobody else is doing it, and nobody else can even really build towards it, right? Whereas Polkadot, things like forkless upgrades specifically, and shared security is really cool too. This kind of allows for a growth and scaling that you just don't see anywhere else in the ecosystem. And I believe that as time goes on, we'll start to see this sort of be implemented in other ecosystems, and hopefully all over the place, really, ultimately.
So leading through best practices, then, that's how we can help everybody else.
I mean, we're just the best, right?
No comment. So before we kind of wrap it up here, this is very much about kind of what we're building. Is there anything y'all can tell us about what's next for your projects? Like, what are you working on now? What are you currently building? What's on your roadmaps? What secrets can you give out?
Yeah, so now that kind of 0 to 1's done, we're really focused on bringing this time automation to as many projects across the ecosystem as possible. We're hoping that we can get some kind of guidelines set up, some guardrails, and then a lot of our focus is really going to shift to the dApp developers and and other new projects who are coming in who are trying to access that. Beyond that, we are looking at price automation to deal with some DeFi use cases, and the simple ones are things like iceberg orders and limit orders, but again, trustlessly without having to sign over your keys. But I think the really interesting stuff on the DeFi side that I'm excited about is more in the ability for us to kind of digest any data source. So for the advanced traders, DMARC indicators, moving averages, copy trading, all that gets unlocked because we're totally agnostic to, kind of the if this then that triggers and extrinsics that we call. But I need to go definitely find some more people who want to help us build all that stuff. And I mean, there's definitely some here. but I need some more always. So that's what I'm working on.
Nino?
Yeah, definitely. There's one secret project that we're building, and it's we call it DID Vault. So we figured out that once we implement Kilt and whatever is built on platform, users will receive those DIDs and they will have to do something with them, right? So one of the options is obviously using a Spore on wallet and store it there, and it becomes one of the wallets you use. And this is definitely a friction since we are, really focusing on Web3 adoption. The second option is to store this DID, and we heard Kenny talk about text files on your desktop, which is also a risk. So what we're trying to build with this is a decentralized storage of encrypted DIDs utilizing Fala, where users would have like OAuth experience, so very Web2-like, but still within all the Web3 framework, and respectable towards their privacy and full control and ownership of all their files. So this is, since we are, just before the application layer, we really have to think a lot about the user experience of the end users, not just the developers, and this is why we're building this.
Sounds great. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yep. So for Zeitgeist, for those who don't know, we're moving to Polkadot like right now. I don't know, it was a matter of weeks, right? So we just left Trusama, headed to Polkadots. And with that, personally, we're really focused on getting onto DETs once we do that. But beyond that, what is actually super mission critical for us right now is we've just finalized our SDK v2. And something that I'm personally doing a lot of work in the field of is just finding people to come build on the protocol, right? And we're really starting to, build your own application, whatever, but just integrating with the rest of the ecosystem now that we're like really enabled, Like for instance, I had a call with Subsocial this morning, right? And really cool things coming together just from the conversation, right? And yeah, so moving forward, like we're really just trying to get fully connected with the ecosystem. We've kind of been in this like isolation bubble for the majority of the time. And yeah, that's the most exciting thing, I would say.
So that leads me nicely into my last question for all three of you then. So if somebody does want to get involved, if somebody does want to start building, what's the best way for them to start?
Just come on into the Discord. If you see me, come talk to me. You got my name or anything, send me a DM, an email, whatever, and we're going to get it going on. So, yeah, just come on down.
Nino?
Yeah, we would like to connect with even more parachains. So, like I said, we're integrating parachains, and we work one-on-one basis. So come talk to us. We do have limited resources, and we're working our best. But definitely, we will integrate whatever makes sense for our use case as soon as possible.
I really felt that limited resources there. I know exactly where you're coming from. And finally then, Oak, what's the best way of people to start building on Oak? Or recruiting as well? Is that what you were alluding to earlier?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're looking for people to join the team, but we're also looking for people. It's one of these weird things where since we're an infrastructure layer, we're looking for people to build on our partners' platform. So I think it's more like a keep us in mind if you have a Solidity dApp you'd like to deploy, or if you're in conversations with anyone else in the ecosystem and you think there's an automation service that you need, any sort of thing that you'd like to schedule in the future. I found that yelling at me loudly on the street is an effective way to get my attention, or Twitter works as well, I suppose. But yeah, please don't be shy, and any questions, I'm always around to help as much as I can before I funnel you off to an engineer to actually help you.
Well, yeah, some of us are more helpful than others, let's be honest. But yeah, thank you so much to our three panelists. I know some of you all have shed your coats to come up here on stage, where it is freezing, by the way. Denver, it is a lovely city, but damn, you're cold. Yes, thank you so much for taking part. I've had a lot of fun in this, our last session of the day. I hope everybody else has as well. You're all going to be about for the rest of the week. People can come chat to you about everything we talked about today.
It's going to be hard to get rid of me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have some booth space at the Polkadot booth on the 2nd. So if you want to come chat, come talk it up, yeah.
And I'll be on the Polkadot booth as well for the rest of the week. So if you want to come talk to me about anything Polkadot or about the Polkadot Academy and the experience there and anything else, yeah, please feel free to do so. But other than that, I think that is us for the day. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.